of NEWS9 Live. And today we are going to interview a person who spent a large part of his life in the armed forces and who has written a book talking about how men in olive, who after retiring can be put to great use in the civilian life. Now this concept is not new. Many countries have tried it, but in India it has not been given a very serious thought. And today is also a very special day. It's the National Panchayati Raj Day today, a day which is celebrated for the fact that it brings democracy to the rural areas. The idea of Gram Swaraj and rural development were integral to Gandhiji's idea of nationalism and national growth. It was also related to equity and social equality. Yet, why is it that despite all these years of Panchayati Raj institutions in place, the fruits of development have not reached all evenly? To discuss the issue, we have with us a unique guest today, as I said, Lieutenant General S.K. Gadeock. He was Commandant of the Defence Service Staff College, DSSC, in Wellington, Tamil Nadu from 2014-17, a period of new thinking for the armed forces leadership under late Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar. He has now come out with a book that examines how rapid socio-economic transformation at the village level could be achieved using the expertise of ex-servicemen. His book, titled From War to Peace, Wisdom and Leadership, Ex-Servicemen's Contribution to Good Governance and Rural Development, has received very positive response. Welcome, General Gadeock. And my first question to you, sir, is:
Thank you.
Has Jai Jawan Jai Kisan remained merely a slogan all these years? Can it be translated into a social reality?
Yes, certainly. I feel otherwise. I feel that Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan is very much a very correct perspective of seeing this nation. In fact, the third one, if I may add, with your permission, is Jai Vigyan and also Samvidhan. But Jai Jawan and Jai Kisan, I'll first speak about the Jawan aspect. Taking that perspective, as far as the armed forces is concerned, Karthikeya, we are the custodians of peace and security of the country. We are the sole arbiters in as far as security is concerned, and not only internal security, but also the external security dimension, multifaceted in many ways, is looked after by the armed forces, which I think is paramount in as far as any democracy is concerned. I think we've done extremely well as the armed forces, except for a little bit of a glitch during '62. I think most of the armed forces of the world have not been able to, not taking on aggression because our country doesn't believe in aggression. But when it is thrust upon the country, certainly we do take it on. And I can tell you assuredly that within 2 to 3 weeks, this country has performed miracles. And even we gave birth to another country called Bangladesh during '71 off. I think Jai Jawan is doing extremely well. The people are very happy. A certain amount of hiccups and hyphenations certainly do occur.
Sir?
Kisan. Well, I think that as far as Jai Kisan is concerned,
Okay.
I think it is contributing, the agriculture is contributing a good about 44 to 46% to the gross domestic product of the country. The farmers are doing extremely well, and we've got a sizable area which is under crop cultivation.
Mr. Gadeock,
Yes.
your book argues that the government must effectively use ex-servicemen to improve local governance institutions. Could you just take us through certain points? How can that be done?
Yes, certainly. You see, why have I concentrated on this? Because I saw that they are good about, I think, about 50%, 50 years, that is about 11%, and about 30 to 35 years, approximately 12%, 35 to 40 years, approximately 33%, and 40 to 60 years, it comes to 44%. Now, these are certain statistical figures. Approximately, if you ask me, it would come to about 60,000 odd armed forces personnel who go on retirement every year. Now, these are a highly disciplined force which can be used after even despite carrying out the rehabilitation programs which are undertaken very explicitly with tremendous amount of intensity so that they are a great success and can contribute in a very fine dimension. I must tell you when you have this kind of a trained force, you must carry out optimization, that is utilization, through the Director General Resettlement, which should be made responsible, as they always are doing a marvelous job. Let me tell you, all organizations in the country, I think, are performing extremely well. The Director General Resettlement could use their leadership skills, and out of 60,000, I think, wherever he finds it very appropriate that a person is able to acquit himself creditably and perform commendably, they go to their respective states and they take up this particular assignment of rural development. However, the empowerment has to come from a government legislation, which I think is not very difficult. In case that comes through, these leaders who are in their respective villages, along with the Panchayati Raj, that is with the Sarpanch of the villages, will be able to accentuate and catalyze all the projects that would be given through a particular, like we say, a timetable for the particular village. I've seen, Karthikeya, that when I was Commandant Staff College, I spent a little time in the village which is juxtaposed to the college, which is called Berhati village. And we had a very dynamic collector by the name of Mr. Shankar. I just appealed to him. I said, the ex-servicemen who are there, along with Mrs. Devadas, Dr. Devadas, late, she, poor thing, just demised. Ex-servicemen contributed phenomenally. And let me tell you, Berhati village is now one of the role model villages in Tamil Nadu. And I spoke about this to Sarvi Jayalalitha when I had met her very briefly. And I told her, I said, your model in Tamil Nadu is worth emulation because of the 2023 document, that is the vision document which she had curated during her regime. I feel that when the ex-serviceman, a disciplined force, is given a particular task, he envisions that and he is able to execute that and accomplish in timelines. That I feel is very important. These cities are coming up. Urban development is taking place in leaps and bounds. But rural development, I feel, that is my perception, and that is what I've written in the book.
You know, there's another, Mr. Gadeock, there's another part in your book which talks about Agnipath, you know, the servicemen, and execution of work at the panchayat level. You know, but our panchayat is also about elections, you know. It's the fountainhead of local democracy. So, and you are talking about accommodating those people who come out of Agnipath. So how does that happen, you know? Where do you accommodate them? One is the elected part of the panchayat, and then there is a panchayat part which is about assistance. So where do you see these people?
I'll tell you. You see, what I've tried to recommend, Karthikeya, is that when you speak about a government legislation, you have to have these people empowered, because you cannot have ex-servicemen going and taking up this appointment, this position, which I've actually highlighted in the book by saying that it is very important actually to have the rapid clusters. You have the JCO and NCO equivalent to about 10,000 of them, the Gram Panchayats, JCO, NCO equivalent, and then the Tehsildar, the Zilla Panchayats with another officer, the district administration with the CEO, and a state administration, that is basically the governing bodies, with another officer. And at the national level, you could have a person of the rank of a lieutenant general or a major general who could be also seconded, that is by the Director General Resettlement. When I say this, you see, it is very important to understand that all these people who go on retirement could be so selected and could be empowered by a government, that is legislation, empowering these people, could be given a designated position with salary, which I've highlighted in the book. I've taken an example of UP, that is Uttar Pradesh, and I've worked it out for about 70 districts. And I've said if so many officers, JCOs and other ranks are designated at the village, at the district, and at the state level, and also at the national level, you have a person to undersee under his cerebral stewardship, it will not actually be out of place to see that development does get a certain boost, because all the projects will be given a certain trust. After all, we require a certain amount of perseverance, prudence, and patience to go in that. If you have envisioned something, you have the value system and the vitality to execute. So I see that all this is intermessed. all this is synergetic. All this is something which has to be coordinated by the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Rural Development, and also the Ministry of Urban Development and Planning.
That's a very in a way innovative, if I have to use the word. But creating self-reliance villages, another of your proposal. Now, Mahatma Gandhi used to talk about that. Nehru had a different visions in terms of what is a self-contained unit. But in terms of ex-servicemen, what is your view? Is it terms of productivity? Is it terms of ethic of work? What sort of social transformation can the men and women of the Olive bring?
I'll tell you. You see, when I thought about this particular project, I must also tell you, I've been a former ADC to the President of India. I was very lucky to be the youngest ADC serving two presidents, Dr. Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy and Dr. Gyani Jail Singh. I had the opportunity to meet Bharat Ratna, one of the icons, that is, we had Abul Kalam Sahib, and he later became the President of India. I had met him and I had spoken to him about doing my doctoral of philosophy, that is PhD. So I told him two subjects, and he told me, he says, which are the subjects? That time I was a younger. The habitats and the plains and the crop cultivation in the country, and also the cataclysms which accompany that. I told him, I said, all this has to be arrested. And I said, sir, certain areas do not have enough water. They are drought hit. So if we interlink the rivers and we have the canals and aqueducts, I think it'll be a very prudent decision at the strategic level. He said, next. I said, sir, the second option for my PhD is looking at villages, development of villages with ex-servicemen, because I don't see that the villages have got the impetus. During the military exercises, that is when we are preparing for war, when we go to the number of villages, and we've seen more than thousands and thousands of them, you speak to the Gram Sarpanch, and he very innocuously comes up to you and says, ki saab sab theek hai, paisa milta hai saab, lekin करने वाले लोग नहीं हैं, काम नहीं होता है साहब, बड़ा मुश्किल है. I realize that there are certain shortcomings. Let me tell you, the government has launched 6 of those Pradhan Mantri schemes, which, let me tell you, are doing extremely well. What I could understand is he required certain people in the Gram Panchayat to give it the desired push, the momentum. Well, if I may use a military language, killer's instinct. And if that killer's instinct is given and he is allowed to shape the contours of the budget and all the projects bear fruition, I see no reason as to why the villages will not be able to meet their targets, all the objectives.
So, the question is, why did you think of rural areas? There's a renewed push for urban renewal by most of the government. By end of this century, I would say next 20 years, half the Indian population would be living in the cities. So why did you think of rural areas and not urban areas where population density, organization, man management is going to at the higher level? Just a question which struck me.
Yes, sir. I would like to appeal to, actually I live by my conscience. I've seen a lot of rural areas where development has not taken place. I would like to contribute, sir, to an area where development has not taken place in the country. When you're Prime Minister, you have, I think, one of the finest Prime Ministers in the world. He's so astute. Look at his vision and look at the way he wants to take India in 2047 as a developed country. We have elected him. We all have to be subordinated in his aims and policy objectives. All these policy formulations, objectives which have been carved out, curated, we have to contribute to that. Now let us see as to where are the gray areas, where are the blue zones, where are we not able to achieve. The cities are developing. There is a lot of migration which is taking place from the villages to the cities. And why is this happening? Because despite your Narega, despite all this potable water being facilitated, despite your healthcare being made available, despite seeding being better innovative technologies being made available, that is to the farmers, why are the farmers still going, a lot of them going not only to the urban centers of excellence, they are also sending their children abroad. This is all happening because no one wants to slog it out for crop cultivation. And ultimately, when stubble burning takes place, they have to bear the flag. I was just talking to someone and I said, from the village, and I told him, I said, what do you want us to do? He says, Saab, it is just simple. आपके जैसे फौजी होने चाहिए इधर रहनुमाई देने के लिए. We require leaders like you, just so as to tell us how to get onto all our projects and help us remain in the village. I want my son to remain in the village and to further consolidate the gains that I have made and my generations have made in the village. So open cottage industry, open the warehouses, get the godowns, and please, for God's sake, he folded hands, he said, please do one thing today. Cut out the middleman.
So can this be done at the border areas? Because our ultimate challenge today has been about populating border areas because of LAC turning into another LOC. Can this be done? Is this being foreseen in Arunachal, Uttarakhand?
Sir, I am not aware if the government has made a policy formulation on the subject. But if they have done, I think it is extremely good and significant. I will only say that I would like to pay my compliment. If this is done, this will be very good for the country because as custodians of peace and security, let me tell you, the people are highly disciplined, they are non-corrupt. He will not at any moment of time, for him, what is most important? It is indented on the brain of every military man, Army, Navy and Air Force. It is duty, honor and country. That is supreme. Duty is something which is known to us right since the cradle of leadership. Honor is something which cannot be compromised. I mean, and supreme sacrifice. You have to think about your nation all the time. So if you populate the border villages, if you create more areas and avenues, why only border villages? I have driven just now 3,000 kilometers from Delhi while coming to Wellington and settling down at Staff College because I transformed the Staff College in my tenure in 3 years. I did what probably I can say beyond being slightly modest. I transformed the college because I thought that in 3 years I should be able to give the country one of the finest colleges. So I've done everything. And at no point of time, I think, not only the villages should be populated, that is in the border areas, which is a very good scheme. At low price, do it for them, give them the irrigational and give them all facilities of infrastructure. And also, I would like to appeal to you, Kartike, all wastelands in the country, all wastelands which have not been designated. I saw thousands and thousands of square kilometers while driving down 3,000 kilometers to Wellington. That is from Delhi. That can all be given to military person under their stewardship. This could all bloom. ये सब जो है वो चमन में बहार आ सकती है और खिजां को जो है वो मिटा सकते हैं.
And lastly, which ethic of the army? There are multiple ethics which army can celebrate. Which is that one ethic you would say will bring the difference, transformational change at the panchayat level?
Well, there's a bouquet actually of sterling attributes.
I know it's a tough question. I know it's a bouquet. It's discipline, it's organization, it's giving order, it's taking order, it's honesty, it's courage, it's working as a team, which is the fundamental to our army. You got to work as a team. You can be a rock star, but if you don't work as a team, then you don't understand the ethic of the army. But one ethic which if you can say, that's the transformational one ethic.
Without doubt, commitment.
Commitment.
And if I would put commitment as the nuclear, in fact, if I should say as the nucleus, as the hub of sterling attribute, which has been taken into cognizance, let me tell you, all the other attributes of fidelity, fortitude, courage, commitment, compassion, looking at it in empathetic manner. I just want to tell you, all these highways and roadways are the guys from engineers of the three services, port and shipping, navy and logistics, aviation, air force, army aviation corps, health and medicine, the medical corps can contribute. Disaster relief, we have the engineers and the medical. Public works, MES and engineers. Supply chain, logistics. E-governance, signals and communication experts. Transport, we have EME and vehicle mechanics. Education, we have the education corps. And let me tell you, I've seen it in the village. We just require certain dynamic people who are very empathetic, knowledgeable, And the best thing is they are disciplined, non-corrupt. And they are understanding, they're able to comprehend the essentials. And they are so patriotic with nationalistic fervor that they don't require to be told anything.
Okay.
I feel if the government takes this, I've spoken to the CDS, requested him, and if it reaches the Raksha Mantri, I think we will be able to contribute in a very significant, phenomenal manner to transform the villages into future cities of the country.
I think I have to bring this interview to an end because I'm falling short of time. But it was a very riveting and an interesting interview to be done. And I would say that to have a thought that those who have served their time in army, they can come back and contribute in the civil structure within our and that too at the third layer of our democratic structure, because that's where the democracy becomes the most effective, and to create better functioning, create assets at local level and organize it for the national use, I think will be a riveting phenomena. I wish you all the best so that this book is read by more people at the highest echelons of power. So I'm really short of time. I would have given you this platform to speak more about it, but I thank you for making time to speak with us on our special edition of NEWS9 Live. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Great pleasure.